Again, each week of this series, we've been having a live testimony. We think it's been a neat thing to hear some personal stories from people in our church that might be people you don't even know. This week, I'm sure most of you would probably recognize Charlene, whether it's from the schools. She used to be a teacher, or maybe it's just from coming in this room, as she's frequently a greeter back there at the door. But today we have Charlene Lepley with us to share a bit of her story. Why don't you give her a hand for being here today?
Good morning.
It's on.
Okay, I couldn't tell. All right. I wanted to start with saying that a few years ago I walked into the Walmart store up in Worcester, and I was wearing a sweatshirt that has an angel on the front, and it says, "I believe in angels." And there was a lady there who, hands you carts, and she says, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "Because I love the Lord, and I know that there are angels." And she wasn't real happy with my answer, but I went on. And then 2 years ago and 11 months today, I found out that there really are angels. I had spent part of the day with my son and his family, and I took them all to breakfast. And in the afternoon, I went to a wedding down in Danville. And then after the wedding, we went over to Apple Valley. Those of you who are kind of familiar with this area went over there for the reception, and then I went on down to Route 36 and went on into Mount Vernon and went to Walmart. And so when I left Walmart, it was 9:30. My clock in the car said 9:30. I was listening to the Ohio State Buckeyes football game. And those of you who are familiar with Route 3 going south, when you go down, there's a church over here on the left-hand side, and that's Ebenezer United Methodist Church, and that's the church where I grew up and went there all the time until we moved to Loudonville in '74. And when you go down that hill, the church is right there, and you go down the hill, and it comes and it makes a curve, and it goes like that, and then it heads on into town, straight on into town. And so I was coming towards there, and it's pitch dark, there's nothing, and I see headlights come around that curve, and I could see that they went off the road. And so, when something happens, you think you know what you're going to do, but you really don't know what you're going to do. And so I'm trying to decide, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I stand, whatever to do? All those things go through your mind really quickly. And I could tell that they came back up on the road, and the car actually came up, and it was on its side, and it was like it was dancing across the road. You could see the sparks. And I looked in my rearview mirror to see if somebody was coming so I could slam on the brake. And when I looked back, the bottom of that car was right here in front of my windshield, and I said, "Oh, I'm dead." And then it hit, and then the car got shoved, and I went down. The car went this way, and it came back, and it ended like this, facing the road, perpendicular to the road. And I thought, "Oh, I'm still alive." And I don't think I'm hurt very bad. I think I'm all right. But the reason you think that is because everything is numb. You don't feel anything, and so you think everything's okay. So my purse fell off of the seat, of course, and so I reached down and had to do the seat belt and got my phone, and I called 911, and I said, "I've been in an accident." And she said, "Where are you?" And right at that second, I knew I was on Route 3, but I couldn't tell her where I was. And I looked right over here, and there was the street sign, the road sign for Allen Road right there. And I said, "Oh, I'm right here beside Allen Road." And she hung up. And I thought, wow. And because I thought they should talk to me, I thought they should keep talking to me. And so a little girl, well, she wasn't a little girl. She was actually a nurse, but I knew her grandmother, and I had known her since I was a little girl. And she ran across the road. I was right across from her house, and she had a fire extinguisher, and in case we needed that. But right here next to Allen Road, there's a brand new little fire station right there, and emergency squads. So that's where they came from. So I assume that's why the lady at the 911 just hung up on me, because I was right there. But they came out, and the fire truck was right there, and the ambulances came, and I actually stopped. I think I was quite a ways away from the car that hit me. It was up here, and I was clear back here. And they took care of whoever was in that car first. But this little girl, or this lady, she would not let me get out of the car. She would, and she was a nurse, so she knew I shouldn't do that. And I asked her to call my son, and gave her the phone and asked her to call Eli. And so I had to stay there in the car for quite some time before they took care of the people that were over there. And when they finally got me out, some of you might know Chad Buzzard, but he was one of the EMTs who came and came to that accident. And he came in on this side of the car, and they don't let you help yourself to get out at all. They're picking you up and pulling here and there and laying you on a board, and which is totally uncomfortable. And so they took me to Mount Vernon, down the emergency room in Mount Vernon. And so while I was in there, Eli, he's coming down from Loudonville, of course, and he gets there to Route 3, and he sees where the accident is, and he gets out and he looks at my car, and then he comes on into Mount Vernon, and he's there in the emergency room. And I had already been telling them in the emergency room that the only reason I was alive was because there were angels in my car. And there's a young man in there, and he says, well, the reason that the engine doesn't come through your car is because they're made to drop on the ground, so they don't do that. And I said, yes, but my car is 10 years old, and it's not made like that. And when Eli got there, he was, and I'm not sure if he was talking to me or if he was talking to somebody else in the room, but he said that he always thought that if I'd had an accident in the tracker, that that would just be the end of it. So anyway, they do not have a trauma center in Mount Vernon, so they took me down to Grant. And Eli followed me down in the ambulance, and so I'm in the emergency room down there, and I'm telling them that the only reason I'm still alive is because there were angels in my car, and the engine didn't come into my car or anything. And they said, and this young man in there says, well, engines are made to drop to the ground. They don't come into the car. Yes, but my car is 10 years old, so it doesn't do that, didn't do that. And so the one thing that Eli had said in the emergency room was that when you looked inside the car, you couldn't even tell I'd had an accident, except for the fact that the airbags were out and the windshield was cracked. But other than that, my car looked perfectly fine on the inside. So I had to stay in the hospital, and I came home Monday night, and my best friend Ellen, she came down to stay with me, and we took pictures of all of my hurts. And Tuesday morning, I'm sitting on the couch, and I said, oh, we forgot to take pictures of my knees. So I pulled my little sleepers up over my knees, and so she could take a picture of my knees. And I'm looking at my knee, and I said, look, there is a bruise on my knee. There's the palm of the hand is right here, and 3 fingers that you could actually see on my knee. And so I knew that, I don't know if they show up in the picture up there very well or not, but you could see the palm and 3 fingers just right there like that. And so I really knew that there were angels in my car. There are 2 reasons why I know this was not my hand. One is because when the accident's coming, I'm going like this. And I do know you should not do that. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do, but this is not it. Because this gets all hurt when you do that. And my finger is still numb just a little bit right here from almost 3 years ago. So I know it wasn't there. The other reason I know it was not my hand was because if my hand had been the one that was over my knee, and you can see I still did get a hurt on my knee, my hand would have been totally smashed. There wouldn't have been anything left to my hand. So that's why I know there are angels in the car with me. Then in a little while, we were able to go down to the car. Eli took me down to get my stuff out of the car. And so, of course, I wanted to really notice about the engine of the car. But when we got there, all 4 tires were still aired up on the top car. They were able to push the car back to where they had parked it. And the engine was not on the ground. And so that's why I know there were angels in the car with me, and they were keeping my car so full, the engine could not even come into the car, and they were protecting my knee.